They did everything to relieve Akudo of the pain that she felt, but the more they tried, the more the pain intensified. This was the beginning of Akudo's life of misery. She barely slept and began to lose so much weight. At a point, she even thought of taking her own life, but changed her mind when she realized that she was pregnant. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Unzu, lived a woman named Akudo who got married to a very rich man. She was the envy of all the young women in the village who wished to be like her. Akudo was so delighted to marry her husband Lutana, as all her life she had dreamed of marrying a man who she loved with all of her heart. She was from a very poor family, and seeing how much her father suffered to put food on their table, she vowed to bring her family out of poverty and was delighted to marry a rich man who she loved as much as he loved her. However, her joy was short-lived when she woke up on the night of her wedding to realize that her entire body was now covered in strange pins. The pins pierced through her skin, resulting in excruciating pain, which made her scream out in agony. Her rich husband jerked out of his sleep and was confronted with the horrifying sight. He stared at her in terror as he wondered why her body was covered in pins. Akudo cried all through the night and was rushed by her husband to the hut of the best healer in the village, who told him that his wife had been cursed with evil pins. The healer then tried to heal Akudo, but was struck by an invisible force. She chased Akudo away from her hut, warning her never to return, and Akudo looked at her in confusion as she wondered why the healer was suddenly acting strangely. Her husband Lutana offered the healer so much money, but the healer refused the money, saying that the curse upon his wife's life was a very serious one and that they should go find a solution elsewhere. Akudo and her husband returned to their home confused. They did everything to relieve Akudo of the pain that she felt, but the more they tried, the more the pain intensified. This was the beginning of Akudo's life of misery. She barely slept and began to lose so much weight. At a point, she even thought of taking her own life, but changed her mind when she realized that she was pregnant. Akudo went to several other healers, but anyone she approached chased her away and refused to heal her. This terrified her husband, who wondered what Akudo could have done to be cursed in such a way. One morning, he revealed to Akudo that he was no longer interested in their marriage and approached her family to request that her bride price be returned. This he did, despite knowing that Akudo was pregnant with his child. Akudo returned to her father's house, and news of her condition spread around the village as people began to speculate what could have happened. Akudo's father, although heartbroken by his daughter's situation, welcomed her back with open arms. Despite their poverty, Akudo's family rallied around her, trying to find a way to ease her suffering. Her mother, desperate to know what was happening to her daughter, visited a very powerful woman who was known to possess dark powers. She arrived at the powerful woman's hut and narrated her daughter's plight to her. She asked the woman what was wrong with her daughter, and the woman revealed to her that Akudo's husband Lutana was behind all that had been happening to her. She revealed that he was a ritualist who used women for money rituals, and that Akudo was so lucky to still be alive. Akudo's mother, desperate to free her daughter from the evil pins, asked the powerful woman for her help, and the woman told her that her help will come at a cost. Without thinking twice, Akudo's mother agreed to do whatever it would take to free her daughter from her torment. The powerful woman looked at her and smiled as she handed her a clay pot filled with a weird substance. She told Akudo's mother to ensure that Akudo drinks the substance at midnight for 7 whole days, and that on the seventh day she would be free from the pains that had tormented her life. She also told her to keep the clay pot safe, as doing so would guarantee her daughter's healing. Delighted at the news, Akudo's mother returned home with the clay pot. She never told her daughter what she did to find a solution, as all she told Akudo was that the liquid substance would aid in relieving her pain. Akudo, trusting her mother wholeheartedly, drank the substance. On the first night, she felt some form of relief and was able to sleep through the night. As the days went by, the pain began to subside, and on the seventh day, Akudo noticed that the pains had all disappeared from her body. She was so delighted to finally be free, but something strange began to happen to her. By midnight, immediately all the pains disappeared from her body. Akudo was struck with an unusual madness, which only occurred at midnight. She regained herself whenever the sun was out, but roamed the streets mad once it was midnight. On the first night that it happened, her entire family had gone to sleep when Akudo, in her mad state, left their house and began to roam the streets. She ran to the home of her rich husband, Lutana, and banged on the door continuously. Lutana emerged from the house and was so shocked to see her. Before he knew what was happening, Akudo beat his ear in a fit of madness. Lutana, in immense pain and anger, chased her away, threatening to kill her if she ever returned. Akudo's mad episode continued night after night, and each time she would wander the streets mad, causing chaos and fear among the villagers. Her mother, sensing that the powerful woman was behind her daughter's madness, approached the woman again, pleading with her to punish her instead of her daughter, and the powerful woman handed her another potion, claiming that it would cure Akudo's madness. However, the more Akudo took the potion, the more her insanity deepened. Akudo's condition worsened as she became a danger not only to herself but also to those around her. The villagers began to distance themselves from Akudo's family, fearing that they were cursed. Even Lutana vowed never to have anything to do with Akudo and her family, following his terrifying encounter with her. This was a very challenging time for Akudo and her family, who looked for a solution everywhere but found none. However, one night, whilst Akudo roamed the streets mad, she came across a very old woman who seemed to calm her down easily. The old woman took Akudo to her hut and made her to fall into a very deep sleep. By morning, Akudo woke up to find herself sleeping in a strange hut. Terrified as to how she got there, she stood up quickly and tried to run away when she stumbled into the old woman, whose name was Nene. "You are awake," Nene said to Akudo, who looked at her terrified. "You don't have to be afraid, my daughter," Nene said to her as she urged her to have a seat. Nene then asked Akudo if she knew the cause of her torment, and Akudo shook her head as she began to cry. Nene wiped away her tears as she revealed to Akudo the cause of all her suffering. She told Akudo that everything that had happened to her was because of her rich husband. "You married a rich man who did not only have money but good looks. Your marriage to him put you in this condition, as a certain young woman had eyes on your husband but was unable to win his heart. This woman was not ready to back down, even after she knew that your husband had decided to marry you instead. She approached her evil mother, who put a curse on you, causing pains to rise out of your skin. Her evil mother then made your husband reject you and send you away, despite the fact that he loved you deeply and knew that you were pregnant. What was even worse was the fact that your own mother unknowingly approached the same evil woman who placed the curse on you to seek for a solution. The woman, despite taking the pains away, inflicted you with madness to ensure that your husband never accepts you back into his life. She made you visit his home on the first night to bite off his ear, putting a complete strain on any chances of you reconciling with him. As we speak, your husband is in the arms of the evil woman's daughter, who has wrapped him around her fingers. Akudo could not believe all that she was hearing. She asked the old woman what she could do, and the old woman told her to return home and burn the clay pot that the evil woman told her mother to keep safe. She said that the clay pot was the channel to which the evil woman had access to her life. The old woman then told Akudo that after burning the clay pot, she would be free from the recurring madness. She then told her to go to her husband's house to set him free from the bondage that he was. She gave Akudo a clove of garlic and told her to chew it before she heads to her husband's home. She told her that the garlic would repel the spell that had been placed in her husband's home, and that when she set her eyes on her husband, she should call out his name 3 times and her husband will regain his senses. Determined to free herself and her husband, Akudo thanked Nene and set out to follow her instructions. She returned home and asked her mother about the clay pot, and her mother, confused as to how Akudo got to know about the pot, showed her where she had hidden it. Akudo, without wasting any time, set the pot ablaze. As the pot cracked and turned to ashes, Akudo felt something heavy leave her body. For the first time in a long while, Akudo was at complete peace with herself. She confronted her mother about the evil woman, who she unknowingly ran to for help, and Akudo told her mother that the evil woman was behind all that she had been suffering, and her mother opened her mouth in shock and pleaded for Akudo's forgiveness. Akudo forgave her mother and set out immediately to her husband's home to free him from the spell that had kept him bound. She chewed the garlic and entered her husband's house, filled with so much confidence from Nene's guidance. As soon as she stepped into the house, she called out her husband's name 3 times, and Lotana, who had been in a daze, suddenly looked up. The fog in his eyes cleared, and he recognized his beloved wife, who he rushed to and hugged tightly. The powerful woman's daughter, realizing her spell was broken, tried to flee but was confronted by a group of villagers who had gathered outside Lotana's home to witness all that had happened. Akudo's mother, on hearing all that her daughter told her, rushed to gather the villagers to witness the unfolding events. The villagers, now aware of all that had transpired in Akudo's home, captured the powerful woman's daughter. They were determined to ensure that she faces the consequences of her actions. Seeing that her daughter had now been captured and knowing that her deceit had been exposed, the evil woman surrendered herself to the villagers as well. Both the evil woman and her daughter were brought before the village elders, who banished them from the village and warned them never to return. With the evil woman gone, Lotana and Akudo reconciled as their love began to wax stronger. Shortly afterwards, Akudo's pregnancy progressed and she gave birth to a beautiful girl who they named Nene in honor of the wise old woman who helped them overcome their trials. The lesson to be learned from this story is that there is nothing hidden under the sun. Those who do evil to others will eventually face the repercussions of their actions. Always be discerning and cautious when seeking advice and help from people, as you never know their genuine intentions towards you. Last but not least, learn to always be hopeful in any situation you find yourself, as no condition in life is permanent. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.